going to show you how people in the Christian faith and any faith would use fear and emotion and preconceived notions of what you would have as an idea of heaven and hell and pain and suffering, and utilize that fear and emotion in order to move you in deeper into this religion. So we're going to watch this video, and we're also going to critique a few other aspects of this video when it comes to body language and when you can tell if a person is making things up or if they're telling you the truth. So here we go. Let's check this video out.
I remember it was on a Thursday. Matter of fact, let's take.
So right off the bat, I want to teach you guys a little bit of something about body language. When a person looks up and to the right, it means that they're accessing a part of their brain that is deceitful, a part of their brain that is looking to create something. And immediately in this video, he starts out by looking up and to the right when he tries to even get to the date of when this event happened, meaning that there are going to be a lot of make-believe things in this video. So there are some things that he believes, but there are other additional things that he's going to add to it. And when someone is having a difficult time swallowing of the throat, that dry mouthness, then that's also a demonstration of a person who is a bit unsure of what they're saying or unsure if people are going to accept what they're saying.
Get back Wednesday night. I found myself looking at these different YouTube clips and watching different out-of-body experiences and different films that, they used to scare me. And I would watch it and it would blow me away. It would catch my attention. And it used to scare me so bad that I would wonder, my mind used to go in place like, God, is this stuff real? I couldn't understand it because I've never been to that place. So,
this is the part of the video where right off the bat, we understand that he preset his mind, preset a bunch of images, preset a condition to which he would be able to manifest these ideas in his mind, manifest these things into what he's later going to call his dreams. And you saw him look up and to the right again as if he's accessing some illusory part of his brain in order to be able to tell this story with the dry mouth effect once again. So here we are dealing with a person who has watched many YouTube videos, who have watched all these different movies and things of that nature that tells you what heaven, what hell, what God, what torments, what types of things occur. And many people do this based on their religion when they go through something and they learn like samsara and then the process that you go through in trying to understand what life after death equals out to. So in this video, he has already let us know that he has preconditioned his mind. He's preconditioned his subconscious by watching a bunch of videos that illustrate in imagery how life after death or meeting a deity is supposed to go.
I found myself praying. I remember walking outside of my apartment and I was walking back and forth with my eyes closed and just started praying. And I asked God, I said, Lord, if you give me an out-of-body experience, I vowed to share your word and to tell the people what I saw. Not expecting that God was going to respond back to that because I was just praying out. I was just praying, not actually looking for a response. And after that night, the next morning, that Thursday, October the 2nd, I had a dream.
Many of you know of the idea of selling your soul to the devil or making a deal with the devil. In this instance, he's making a deal with God. And many times when people make these kinds of deals, then really it's something that's within themselves that they're looking to bring out. They create the expectation of meeting this deity. They create the expectation of having a dream or having an out-of-body experience or even experiencing something in life where you see a sign of what you are actually looking for. And we have a part of our brain called the reticular cortex. When you access the reticular cortex, you determine what you want to pay attention to and what you want to come into your life. It's kind of like if you want to get a red Mustang, then all of a sudden you see a lot of red Mustangs. Those red Mustangs were always around. You just never noticed them because your reticular cortex wasn't activated or focused on that particular item. So in this video, he's also demonstrating that he's making a deal with God that if you show me an out-of-body experience or a dream of anything of that nature, then I'll go out and I'll preach your word and I'll do this and I'll do that. So he's effectively making a if-then deal with God. And if he does receives the thing that his reticular cortex is now going to look for, then it justifies his actions thereafter.
And my spirit left my body. It was like I was in my apartment and my spirit got pulled out of my body. And I would go in these different transits, bright color lights. It was white, like the best way I can explain it would be shoo, 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 all the different flashing lights.
Once again, now he's talking about the bright colored lights. Now we know that this is a repetitive theme that we've heard many times before by people, that when they have an out-of-body experience, or in his case, this dream, that he sees these white lights, these bright colored lights. And we know from many other episodes of people saying that they have out-of-body experiences or that they had near-death experiences, they have been conditioned to see this bright light, this light that they're supposed to walk into, this bright light identifying itself as a deity or a special event with this deity, and having the out-of-body experience of seeing your body laid down while you are then moving away from your body and seeing yourself in that position is another common trope that we've conditioned ourselves to believe in.
And I appeared before a blue sky with no clouds. It was like a blue place, no land, no trees, no grass, no water, nothing. There was nothing there but a blue atmosphere. And I would see this atmosphere goes millions of miles upon millions of miles where nothing existed. It was like nothing was hidden. Everything was revealed. Everything was before your eyes. You could see it. And we was in this clear kind of body form, some form of light, as you would refer to a soul or a spirit, and I could see through. It was so transparent, and in front of me was thousands among thousands similar to what I was, and thousands among thousands behind me. And I knew that it was some form of a soul.
This is another popular trope when it comes to having these types of experiences of being in the light body. And many times people have talked about being in the light body. It's been something that they've talked about through multiple different religions throughout time and memorial, of coming into a light body, exiting the flesh, and being in just pure energy, pure light. We know this is also a popular trope. And one of the more cartoonish popular tropes is the entire lineup. Everybody's in this line as if we are waiting and going through this orderly process of being lined up. We've seen this in cartoons. We've seen this in different movies. We've read about this type of situation in multiple books. We see this through all types of genre of light bodies in a line waiting for this judgment, because that's how we perceive and understand it. Because think about how many things in life that you've experienced where you have to wait in a line. And through that line, it provides an orderly fashion for you to enter into a certain place or to a certain state. So that popular trope is also being used here, which gives you an area of familiarity where you will say, okay, I know this, I've seen this, I've been a part of this multiple times. And if you notice, he continues to look up and to the right as he described the blue sky and all these different things. So make sure you pay attention to him looking up and to the right. That means he's being deceitful. Or if he looks to the right and down, then he's also being even more deceitful, trying to create an idea, an illusion. He's not accessing a memory. When you access a memory, you are looking to the left to access memories, but he consistently will look up and to the right. And if they're looking straight at you and to the right, then he's definitely telling a lie.
And in the middle of my chest were seeds, multiple seeds. I didn't know what they were for. And I realized that I was the only being that could actually move out of my place and look and observe, smell, taste, feel. All my senses were active at this point. And so, I began to look around and to observe the things that I saw, not knowing that this was a dream. I thought this was reality. I thought this was actually happening, and I looked forward, and there was this great shadow way in front of me, way at the end of the line. It was like 1,000 people in front of me, and there was a shadow, a great big shadow, but it had no detail. It was like as a vapor, and I could see that it was a shadow of something that was in the front. And I had many questions at this point in this dream, and out of nowhere, I heard these words, "Depart from me." And this galaxy, this portal, I don't know what to call it, on the right side of God, or Jesus Christ, whoever you decide to identify that spot of judgment, on the right side of him, there was this big portal that opened.
There are two things in this instance. In this instance, one of the main things is that he closes his eyes a few times. And in closing his eyes, you're truly trying to access an image that you're creating at the moment in your mind and trying really hard to find as many details about it. The other aspect of it is the fact that he pauses and swallows and ums quite often, which is giving his brain enough time to create whatever the next deceitful or the next thing that he wants to make up in his story. And in that way, he's also creating this whole story based off some level of possible truth, but most of it is coming from what he's creating at this moment. And he's continuously using these popular tropes of the vague God, the big shadow, not being able to see what it is, and things of that nature, because if he doesn't nail those things down, then you cannot criticize him about them and can leave them vague, just as many things are vague. But as you see, everything that's spoken of are things that you can find in popular cultures around the world.
And there will be stones of fire. Normally when you get a lighter and you cut it on, try to spark a flame, but instead of fire, it was stones, and they will leak out of this portal. And whoever that guy said, "Depart from me," flew down this place. And the stones were so hot that it would burn everybody outside of that portal. On the left side of our body or our form, it would burn us. And everybody be like, "Ooh," like as if it was so cold or so hot, you would tell somebody to close that door. It's too cold.
In order to validate his story, he has to use biblical tropes that you've heard of before. Depart from me. But also the idea of stones emitting fire and being burned by that fire. He used that popular trope as well, so that you draw a familiar connection to biblical aspects that you are already familiar with. And then he makes a mistake. He talks about being burned, but then he mistakenly starts talking about it being cold. So he's mixing it up because he's trying to think through this too fast without actually accessing something that really happened to him.
That's how hot it was. And the portal closed. And then he sent them so fast that the screams were late. I would hear, "Ah!" Like it was like, "Depart from me." And it closed up. Then the screams come, "Ah!" And it terrified me. And then out of nowhere, something snatched us up. Like we moved up the line. And I began to think, I didn't understand where we was. I'm like, "Oh my God, maybe this is judgment." Yeah, I had many questions, and I would hear, "Depart me," "Depart me," "Depart from me," and all these different people will be sent to hell.
I have to admit, that part was really entertaining and really good. You see, he used a whole bunch of dramatic moments to draw you in and raising the voice and escalating the tension of all of it about you going to hell. But if you notice at the very end, he looked up and to the right as he got ready to access even more information that he's making up.
And the part that scared me the most was the people that were getting judged. You could hear when God was talking to them, and you could hear everything they got judged from. So if somebody went to hell for something that you knew you struggled with in your life, you know where you were going. And so I'm just seeing people go, "Shoot, sit there, boo, boo." And I'm seeing the flame, and it's just constantly burning everybody outside that haven't been judged yet. And I could hear some of the people talking to God. And I remember there was a woman, blonde hair, and God was talking to her. He said, "I'm not judging you for what you put on Facebook, but I'm judging you on how everybody else received it." 300,000 people were led astray by one of her Facebook posts. And he said their blood was on her hands.
Why is he smiling? Why is he smiling, almost cheerful, gleeful? that a woman is going to be sent to hell because she posts something on Facebook and 300,000 people were led astray because of what she posted on Facebook. He says that God was not upset with the fact that she posted on Facebook, but that 300,000 people were led astray because of what she posted on Facebook. And there's almost a happiness that he finds in that, because prior to that, he points at the camera so that the person watching will feel conviction about what they may have posted on Facebook and how it may have affected multiple people. And in this instance, he's actually happy about it and shows that he approves of this deity holding her accountable for the mindset of other people.
And out of nowhere, he said, "Depart from me." And I'm talking about, I couldn't express how powerful his words were. It's as if he said, "Depart from me," and everything shook. And she was sent with great force. And the portal opened up. She was gonna fly. And it would close. And and the screams were so late, it terrified me. People, adultery, fornication, so many different things that I could actually hear. And people in front of me were terrified because a lot of those people were struggling or went through the same situation and they never repented. So 1,000, sent here. They would go, they were flying. They was flying so fast. I've never seen something so fast. And it got to the point where I was next in line, and he called me up, and he started talking to me. And keep in mind that our life held us hand to hand. So anything we did in our life, our life testified against us. So you couldn't lie because your life testified. Say, yes, you did this, you did this at this time, yes, you did. And whenever God would speak to me, you would see a big screen, like you would see as if whatever God says, it comes to life. And so he started talking to me, and he started telling me everything that I could have did better. And at this point, I'm like, okay, God, I could have did this better. I did it, I did okay with it, but I could have did better. So he began to say other things, and he brought up this specific woman. And he asked me, why didn't I forgive her? And he gave me her specific name. I'm not going to say it. He gave me her specific name. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. He asked me, why didn't I forgive her? I said, I did, God. I did forgive her. He said, well, if you forgave her, when you get on the phone and talk to her, why is it that you treat her like the situation happened all over again? And I'm like, God, but I did forgive her. He said, well, if you forgave her, why are those seeds still in your chest? And I looked down. I was like, oh my God. That's what those are for. Those are seeds of what I did in my life. The things I didn't forgive. So he was talking to me, and I was like, oh my God. And he told me, he looked at me and said, because you didn't forgive her, I didn't forgive you some of your sins.
Now, the majority of the parts that you just saw right there is trying to invoke guilt. All of us have done something that we're not proud of. All of us have done something that we still may be harboring. And utilizing the illustration of seeds and utilizing the dramatics of believing that you've forgiven somebody for something, or that you've overcome something, or that you've made a mistake about something and thought that you were good with it. But in this sense, he's demonstrating and trying to connect with people about the fact that they haven't forgiven people for certain things, that they're still carrying around guilt for certain mistakes that they may have made, and that they've overshadowed them with their own pride, and that they are now thinking that they're free from it. So he uses this idea of guilt at this point in order to draw you in further, right after telling you about how persons and thousands of people were going by real fast and they were punished and everything for holding on to those guilts, for not learning how to forgive, for making all these different mistakes that we look at today and say these are things that will send you to hell. So he's bringing people in at this point by utilizing guilt. Everything thus far has been fear and guilt and shame, things that we deal with on a low vibrational scale.
And I was like, oh my God. And he started telling me so many other things, and he ain't told me not one good thing yet. And at this point, I'm getting terrified because my mind is starting now going to a place where I'm imagining how hot this fire is going to be when this portal open. And so, I'm scared. I didn't know how to explain how terrified I was. Words can't describe when you meet God face, words can't describe how terrifying it is to look your Creator face to face. Where there's nothing hid from Him. There's nothing. Your inner thoughts are revealed before Him. Your perception, how you feel, everything that you hosted in this body is presented before Him. And so, I got to a point where I didn't want to hear God no more. I was really turning my head.
This portion here was a very, very heavy dose of shame. Being told all the different things that you've done throughout your life, all the different mistakes that you've made, all the different problems that you've had, and that you haven't done anything that was righteous in your entire life, that everything negative that you've ever done is pointed out to you to the point where you feel shamed, and completely shamed to the point where you can't even look at the face of God anymore. You're not happy about where you are, because most Christians want to think that they're in a place of joy when they meet God face to face, because they believe in this blood of Jesus as their sacrifice. But in this instance, what he's pulling on is the fact that he knows that most people will be able to connect with levels of shame that they've had. And if you notice again, he keeps looking to the right. He constantly looks to the right in order for him to create these illustrations, to create these images, to continue to tell this story based on what most people have already believed that they will see in their lives because of the different conditioning that we've had over the years.
Because I was afraid that, it's already made his mind up. I was so afraid. And so I turned my head, and he would just constantly tell me everything that I didn't do right, or I should have did better. And at this point, I knew I was going to hell. I knew it. I was fully persuaded that this was it. So I turned my head, and I was like, I don't want to hear no more of it. My mind, I'm just really trying to imagine how hot hell is going to be. I'm like, oh my God, Lord, I have no more chance. If I go down there, I can't come back. Like, Lord, please don't send me to hell. Please, like, God, please. I'm begging you. And I'm more terrified. I was more terrified than I can express. And so I turned my head, and at this point, I no longer wanted to hear what he had to say, because I knew at this point, I was going to hell. And I would have my head turned, and out of nowhere, there was this one feeling that would come over the interface of my soul. And I would turn my head, and it would go in slow motion, and the tears would fly from my face. And I looked at God, and I was looking at his judgment. What was going to be my judgment? And he looked at me, he said, face to face, you don't get a well done. You get a you barely made it.
And of course, with any good storytelling, when you take a person to that climactic point where all is lost, they've given up, they know that they're going to go to hell now, that they've lost the battle, lost the war, it's the remorse that they then feel. And through that feeling of remorse, they start to understand true forgiveness, true love, and then this warmth of you barely made it. It's too much to tell people job well done, because we know that most people are harboring some type of fear, shame, or guilt within inside themselves. But for you to just barely make it in gives people that relief. And when you take people on that high, or in this case, that low, and they're on a high of emotions, but the emotions is low and dreadful and sad, to give them that release, that refreshing feeling of you still barely made it, because all you needed was this one thing, and you barely made it through. And God being so loving and forgiving that he lets you through. Everybody else going to hell, but you barely make it.
And he stepped back and said, come. And at this point, I was so confused. I'm like, oh my God. And on the left side of God, heaven would open up, so soft, with brilliant lights. The colors were indescribable, like colors I've never seen before in my life. It was so bright, so pretty, so amazing. And the colors would blossom as they grow, and the heaven will open up so gentle. And I will walk toward that direction, and my hand would go in the portal. And when my hand went through, it got bigger. My arm went through, it got bigger. It was like I was growing into a mature state of a glorified body. And so my leg went through, like, got bigger, and you can see how big I got on the other side, and how my soul was being transformed into a glorified body.
And of course, now we move into the triumph of victory. We move into the brilliance of the heavenly lights and the brand new body that you're going to experience, to give people that high climactic ending at this point. And if you notice, you got to use that slight cracking and tearful echoing of the voice as he continues to look to the right as he imagines this story.
And my body would go through it, and only piece that was left behind was my leg. And right before my last foot got in, I woke up. The dream scared me so bad. I was underneath our living room table for hours. I was so terrified. I was terrified to move. I was terrified to do anything because I was afraid it was going to be added to my judgment. I thought that was the judgment. That didn't feel like a dream. I could feel, I could taste, I could tell you how it made me feel. Everything was so alive in the dream.
So now you got to bring it back to reality. And the reality is that when most people hear stories like this, and they themselves have a desire by this moment to go through something like this, to realize something like this, but without having to do it, but by leaning on his story, it is that life-changing moment. It is that feeling of victory within your life now, that you've now become, as the Bible has told you over and over again, a new creature. So now he has to demonstrate how in his current life, in his snap back to reality, that now he is so overwhelmed with joy and love and forgiveness, but alive with this new fervor towards this deity, that he has changed every aspect about himself, changed who he is, which gives people hope within their own life that they are feeling this way. But notice still, he constantly looks to the right.
And at that moment, I was asking God, why did you give me this dream? He said, because I want you to warn my people that the things which you saw are the things that shall be. And I didn't realize that what I prayed for and the vow I made before God, that he was going to fulfill it. Now he's looking for my end to be fulfilled. So that's why I'm here talking to you right now.
After emotionally bringing you in and getting you very much caught up into his story, now is the hook. You see, when in the sales community, what you do is you tell a story, you get people in, you relate that story to their lives, and then you bring them up to that high climatic ending, and then drop back down into your humility, your humbleness of being able to say that I was given this because God wants me to be a messenger, and you need to follow me. You need to listen to me. This is a popular trope that many pastors use. This is a popular trope that many cultists use, that many people who are looking to grow an audience based on a familiarity will use over and over again to get you to trust in their story and make their story your own story, so that you will then follow them and become a disciple of this process that this deity supposedly took this person through. Now, if you go back to the beginning, you would recognize that he said he prayed for God to give him this out-of-body experience. So why is he asking God now, why did you take me through this? You asked for it. You created it. You manifested it in your own mind. You wanted this to be. You made a bet, a deal with this deity that if he gave you a dream or out-of-body experience, that you will then go out and profess this message to him or to all the people. So in telling you the story and now showing his obedience to the story, he's using your belief in this deity in order for you to validate him as a messenger of this deity, so that it gives him the credibility for you to follow him and for you to do whatever it is that he would dictate thereafter. This is a very popular way that many ministers and many prophets go about building their ministry, is to show the journey that they've been through. Because what most people don't want to do is go through the journey themselves, but be able to lean on someone else's journey in order for them to find their own spirituality. This is what fake prophets, false prophets do continuously, false ministers do continuously to people that they can find who are already in a state of emergency as far as how they feel about themselves and their connection to deity on high. This has been used over and over and over again and will continue to be used over and over again. My goal is for you to be able to spot these charlatans when they are professing these grand experiences that many people wish and desire to have for themselves. But you can have these experiences yourself if you precondition your mind to have them. But if you don't precondition your mind to have them and you're lying in want, lying waiting, desiring for these types of things, when someone else comes and tell you one of these stories, you will easily follow that person and believe in their story so greatly as your own, because you already have conditioned your own selves to either feel low or to desire to have that experience for yourself. I hope that you guys learned something from this, because the rest of the video, he's just professing his deity and his message and wants you to follow him. But in any case, I hope that it opens your mind, gives you an idea of how to look at these types of videos and understand what's really going on in order to invoke your not conscious response to it, but your emotional response to whatever this person is trying to get across to you. And it has worked for him. It has worked for him. And there are many people in the comments of his video who are saying that they watched this video and it reinvigorates them. They watched this video and they made them go and serve this God even more, even more. So it has worked for him. But what's the true question is, where is it leading these people? Where are they going? They're going deeper into a book. And towards the end, he does kind of sidesteps going directly into it being Jesus by saying that whatever you would call your deity.
Forgive. Let go. I couldn't describe how many people that allow for unforgiveness to grow in them, and it caused a bitterness, which caused them to do things that they got judged for. That thing caused them not to make it to heaven. I was terrified. It was so many people went to hell. And it felt like I was the first one. Like God, it was thousands among thousands of people in front of me. That is scary to me.
Lastly, I do have to speak about the fact that he went back and doubled down. He doubled down by giving you a final summary of the story once again about how so many other people God just let go to hell. But then he became that special messenger of God that said that I'm going to make something out of you that can help other people. But all those other thousands of people that went before you, they don't get such special privilege. But if you were to lean on his story because God made him special, then you get to share in his specialness. Now, I do think that we all do need to practice forgiveness a heck of a lot more than what we already do. But in this instance, he's utilizing your emotions in order for you to lean on him so that he can now become your messenger.
So today I encourage you to get it right with God. Get it right with your fellow friends, your enemies, the church hurt.
Church hurt? Church hurt. Really? This is what we're doing again. Church hurt. Always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.